Hey, welcome back, everybody. We are live with another edition of Veteran Nation Live. Joining me, as always, is my great co host, TC. Welcome, TC.
Great, he
and
says.
all, our third, I think he's going to end up being our third co host, Kahanu AVA. Welcome.
Hey, everybody. Thank you.
What you think he's going to end up being? I mean, he's
Well,
pretty much
yes.
here every time. So
He came up with an idea of a show that we're going to be doing that I think is a great idea. We're going to be doing Veteran Nation Unexplained. So as you can see, people are already excited about it. But yeah, I think it'll be a good show as we expand on what we do here.
is there something going on at your place that is unexplained at the moment, Skipper? Is there...
The cat probably jumped down from something, and the dog thinks someone's knocking on my door. I can tell you, I've got my cameras. No one is at my door.
Well, that's you live pretty close to Joshua Tree. Are you sure it's not the Cactus Man?
Actually, we do have a urban legend out here of a guy called the Yucca Man. And
yeah, the Yucca. There it is. The Yucca.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that is a local urban legend. I have talked to people who've been in the park and claim they have
Is
seen
it
him.
more of like a crypto legend and less of an urban legend?
Don't know.
Cryptid, not crypto. Cryptid.
Cryptid.
Yeah.
I've never seen any pictures of Yucca Man.
The descriptions I've heard sounds like a desert squatch.
That is, I would, if I were to say anything, though, I would say it's most likely spirits because, this park, 31 people die in this park every year. And so I could see a lot of spirit activity happening.
Is it mostly from boredom waiting for us to start a show on time?
See,
which by the way, we were on time, and that was my doing, folks.
Yes, that is true because we were talking about stuff, show prep stuff, and TC goes, "We better start because if we're late, I'm going to be blamed."
Hey, everybody in chat, how you doing?
I've not even shared this out, so I'm going to share it to everyone right now.
But yeah, so if you are, and so we want to make this clear to everybody. Like the Veteran Nation as a channel is open to everyone. Skipper has coffees with Skipper. He does other shows. He does other interviews. We want everybody to know that everyone is welcome. But when we do, see, there it is. Georgie's doing it. And I'm always on time. But anyway, the channel is open to everyone. We love everyone who watches and supports the channel. We are very, very thankful for what everybody does. But Vet Nation Live and Vet Nation Unexplained are vet specific in the paneling, just so people are aware. That doesn't mean we won't ever have non-veterans on either show that aren't part of the panel, so like interviews or guests or whatnot. But the panels for this show and Vet Nation Unexplained are going to be the three of us for sure, and maybe an occasional guest host from time to time. But we will be willing to talk to people that aren't vets.
Mm-hmm.
And now, if you are a vet that has a unexplained story of some sort, please reach out to Skipper or I or Kahanu. We would love to be able to tell your story. But if you're a family member of a veteran who maybe isn't comfortable coming on and wants to have their story told, or that they would tell their story, but they're not with us anymore to tell their story, and you want to come on and tell their story, please reach out as well. So, but just so everybody knows, the panels from now on for Vet Nation Live and for Vet Nation Unexplained are going to consist of veterans and veterans only. Because we do want to focus on vet issues, especially on this show. That being said, one of the first things we're going to focus on today is not vet specific in and of itself, but it is very important to why vets do what they do. And Skipper sent a video out, and this is one of the most recent.
Came out today.
If you guys don't know who Sean Reyes is, he goes by Long Island Audits. And if you don't know what Long Island Audits is he's a guy who goes around and he does audits, especially of law enforcement and other government servants, public servants. And his most recent video shows him being harassed, assaulted, and eventually placed in custody, working as an independent journalist. And this is incredibly important when you look at what we at Vet Nation have been doing for a long time, which is talking about the corruption within the public sector, within public servants. And we will see this play out, and that's why we talk so much about the things we talk about here, because we're seeing these tactics used, especially in places like the VA, with the VA police and how they're treating veterans who don't toe the line. And so we're trying to demonstrate that this is not just something that happens in one-off situations. This is happening to people all over the place. And so Skipper, if you would, you want to, we're not going to watch the whole video. It's well over 20 minutes long, but we are going to watch the opening of it and kind of show you where some of the problems lie.
Just be warned, it's triggering.
Yes.
Well, for me, it triggered me.
There's a couple concepts I want people to know, and I'm saying this purely as a journalist. There are things you need to know about the First Amendment right. For instance, it does protect me as a journalist if I come to your home. I can come to your home, I can knock on your door, provided, and each state is different, provided the curtilage is open. And the curtilage is like the outside of your home, of the stuff that's clearly your home. So if you own a 50-acre farm, but your home is on 1 acre and that's mowed, that whole acre would be considered the curtilage. The police can come there. They do not need a warrant. They can come on the curtilage.
The curtilage has actually been redefined by the courts over the last few years, by the way. Curtilage is actually directly approachable area. So in other words, your front door.
Yeah.
And the reason that this has been redefined has been because law enforcement has in the past used curtilage as an excuse to wander around people's property when there's no fence barring entry.
Yeah.
And so
some states you can put up a no trespassing sign, and that
ends curtilage.
Yes,
that ends curtilage. But without a no trespassing sign, curtilage allows, as Skipper was saying, allows anybody to come up to the door. And here's the thing: law enforcement is entitled to the same knock and talk liberties as anyone else. What a lot of people do not understand when it comes to curtilage is just like anybody else, when law enforcement comes and knocks on your door, unless they have a warrant and you say to them, I don't want to talk to you, you need to leave now, you're trespassing, they, just like everybody else, are obligated to leave. They don't get to say, I'm law enforcement, I don't have to. So if they're doing a
probable cause or an investigation of a crime to stay.
Yes, and it has to be articulable on the spot, not just, oh, well, we heard. It can't be.
There may be a crime. No. It has to be there. I believe there is a crime due to this.
Yes.
And here's what the crime would be.
And so these things are very important in this situation that we're going to see with Sean from Long Island Audits here. So once again, Sean's not a vet, is he? I don't think so.
No, he's not a veteran. No. But I should give the background that he is approaching a Connecticut state trooper who had previously arrested him, assaulted him, and
Those charges
the
were dismissed.
charges were dismissed, and the internal affairs investigation did not find any wrongdoing, even though this state trooper got physical for nothing.
Right. So without any further ado, and boy, do we ado.
Here we go.
Hood here, but we just want to ask some questions.
Hold on, I gotta
see what's going on with this overtime allegation. Hopefully he answers us. It says here the Fahey's looks like we're in the right spot. Again, there aren't any no trespassing signs. We're just coming in peace to ask some questions.
If you guys need me to pause, let me know.
Pause here too, just so we're.
Oh, I'm currently being.
He is here because an insider with the Connecticut State Troopers Agency reported that this Fahey, who he's had contact with in the past, who is ultimately an administrative sergeant. He's basically a desk guy. He sits behind a desk all day long. Is getting $75,000 a year in overtime. I want people to understand $75,000 a year in overtime. So one of the things that Sean doesn't say here, but I know he's mentioned in the past, is that when people talk about law enforcement doesn't get paid enough, here's an example of a guy who just in overtime alone is getting paid more than most people make in a year in this country. And that is reflective of many stories that are out there right now. So like in Minnesota, we just had a Minneapolis Police Department lieutenant or captain, I can't remember which, made $500,000 a year for the year last year.
Yeah.
$500,000, most of it coming from overtime. So these are legitimate questions, and Sean is here as an investigative journalist to ask those questions, and that's what you just saw. And he just announced, "Oh, I'm being recorded already," because the guy's Ring doorbell said, "Hey, you are currently being recorded."
Now notice how he knocks, and he actually steps back from the door. That was one thing I noticed about this. Like, Sean is very cognizant that he does not want to be construed as a threat.
Recorded, his Ring camera said.
Can I help you?
Hey, Sergeant Fahey, how are you?
You gotta get off my property. It's posted no trespassing.
Nope, there is no posted sign. There's no problem. Do you have any, let's go. Do you have any comment on the allegations that you are, I am moving. Do you have any comment on the allegations that you are receiving?
Pause.
Couldn't even get the question out, ladies and
So right here, everything's good. Not only is Sean already stepping off the property, he's already making his egress, which is what he's obligated to do on private property. At no point is he obligated to not ask questions anymore. Moreover, in this case, the trooper did the right thing in going into the house. Trooper even did the right thing in picking up the phone and calling, because you saw he's picked up the phone to make a phone call. He did the right thing by stepping off the porch back into his house. Where this goes south is right after this. So Sean is in the right here, and so is the trooper.
Yeah, no laws broken. Everyone,
at the moment.
People are upset, but everything is good. Okay.
gentlemen, he was so angry. Couldn't even get the question out.
They're leaving.
He says that there's no trespassing signs. Let's see. Let's see if there's no trespassing signs. What a coward. He can assault me in broad daylight while receiving taxpayer money. But the minute an independent journalist comes to his home, and he's probably going to try and get me unlawfully arrested now. As you could see, I moved back his camera that says you are currently being recorded. Film this guy. You're crazy. What do you think I'm doing, you psycho? You have a weapon in your hand? What are you doing? What are you doing? I don't have any weapons. I'm a journalist.
Get off my
What do you think I'm
property
doing,
right
you
now.
psychopath?
Get off
What do you
my
think I'm
property
doing?
right now? Get off
What
my
do you think
property
I'm
right
doing?
now.
What do you think
Get
I'm
off
doing?
my property right now.
I'm off your property.
This is my property.
Well, do you see me
All
not
the way
moving?
to the cul-de-sac.
Calm down.
Get off
Get
my
that gun out
fucking
of your hand.
property.
Get that gun out of
Get
your hand,
off
you
my
psycho.
fucking property.
Get that gun
I'm
out
a
of your hand, you
goddamn
psycho.
Connecticut State Trooper.
I don't care who you are.
Trespassing
I don't
on
care
my
who you are.
fucking
I don't
property.
care who you
Get
are.
off.
I do want to point out already twice now, and this appears to be a third time, Sergeant Fahey has initiated contact. Sean is leaving. He is backing up. The state trooper is the one coming at him.
So this
Off
would
my
be
fucking
brandishing a
property.
Who
firearm,
you
right?
are.
Right now.
You spit in my
Get off
face.
my property
You're
right
going
now.
to jail
I
now.
wanna
Get
Look
off
at
that.
there who you are.
right now.
You spit in
Get
my
off
face.
my property
You're
right
going
now.
to jail now.
Yeah,
Get
Look
off.
at that.
I don't know if anybody heard that, but there is a very clear sound of spitting. Like,
Yeah.
like it's not just, as he will claim here in a second, oh, it was just me yelling at you. Furthermore, he came out elevated. He did not have any cause to come back out that door. If he was
Yeah.
truly concerned for safety of his family and for himself, he had no cause to come out that door at all.
He is
he closes
brandishing
his-
his weapon. He is
Yeah.
on his property, so he legally can have his weapon with him.
Yep. He can have his weapon with him. Under the circumstances, the fact that he was previously in his house safe, he is the one who is creating the danger and the conflict here. And he has assaulted Sean. The initiating of contact in every jurisdiction that I have ever come across. When you initiate the physical contact, you are responsible for that. And he's also carrying a weapon while he does that. That's
Now-
an aggravating circumstance.
Because of the Trayvon Martin case, everyone's going to talk about stand your ground. This is not a stand your ground case. This is what's known as a castle law case, meaning your home is your castle. You have a right to defend your house. However, when Sergeant Fahey went back into his house and these guys were leaving, there was no threat to his home or his property. So the fact that he came out armed would not be covered by most castle doctrine. It would depend on how, and I don't know if Connecticut is a castle doctrine state, but most states are.
Property
Look
right
at
now.
this. He spit in my
Get off
face.
my
You said you're
right
going
in
to
my
jail.
face. I'm spitting as I'm talking to you.
No, you spit
Get
in
off
my
my
face.
property
You spit in
right
my face.
now.
You spit in my face.
Get off my
You're going
property
to jail.
right now.
I'm going.
Get off my property.
I've been going.
right
Since the
now.
moment you told me.
Get off
That's
my
not
property
how criminal trespass
right
works,
now.
psycho.
Get
You're
off
a
my
psycho,
property
bro. You're,
right
look
now.
at the gun in his hand. This guy's
Goddamn
crazy.
right. I'm a Connecticut State
I don't
Trooper.
care a shit who you
are
are.
trespassing on my property.
That doesn't matter. You can't
threatened
break
to
the law.
kill me.
I didn't.
You threatened to
You
kill me
lied.
online.
Right. No, I
Get
did
off
not.
my fucking
You're a
property
liar.
right now.
You are a liar.
Right now.
Look, see the big
Get off
beautiful
my
billboard
property.
truck? It's all being recorded.
I don't care.
It's all being. I
Get
know you
off
don't
my
care
property
because you don't face
right
any
now.
consequences.
Get
You
off
don't
my
face any
property
consequences.
right now.
Don't
This is
spit
the
in my
biggest
face.
mistake you ever
No,
made.
no, it's not.
This is the biggest mistake
you
you ever made.
No,
Get
it's
off
not.
my property right now.
It's not the biggest mistake
Get
I
off
ever
my
made.
property right
it's
now.
It's not the biggest mistake. The
Get
biggest
off
mistake. You
my
are spit in my
property.
face.
I
You
didn't
disgust-
spit in your face.
You
I
disgusting.
was spitting
You
on
dis-
you.
Yeah.
I am yelling at you to get off my
Yeah.
property
You spit-
right
Get
now.
off. I'm off your property. Now what? Now what?
Whether you're a professional technician or simply take pride in maintaining your own cars, Harbor Freight offers.
Look
I
at
am
the gun in his hand.
so mad right now.
So regardless of what anybody, how you feel about this, I don't care what your position is. I don't care, if you're one of those people that no matter what, the blue is always right. Fine, you're entitled to that opinion. I don't care if you're one of those people that no matter what, blue is always wrong. You're entitled to that opinion.
Mm-hmm.
The problem in this situation is that this is not an issue of blue. This is not an issue of an on-duty cop having an interaction with somebody who he is investigating or suspects of a crime or any of that. This is literally a case of a private individual and another private individual, one of them acting in the capacity of as an investigative journalist who's within the law, who is following the law, who
Is
also
it a private individual? Because here's what I want to show: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 police cruisers in this shot, and I believe
totally
there's
agree.
2 more.
Totally agree. That's an ancillary, and I agree with. I know what you're thinking is who else would get this kind of response, right?
Right.
But in the capacity of this discussion that's taking place, Sean did everything right.
Yes.
Everything right. Now, if your critique of Sean is well, he already has a history with this guy, why show up at his house? We could have a conversation about that. I think it's a legitimate conversation for us to have, to say, did Sean know or suspect that this was going to be, look at me, I'm smiling. Did Sean know or suspect that there could be an escalation of tempers under the circumstances? You know what? Sure.
Legal, yes. Ethical, maybe.
But the reality is Sean did everything right. He began to leave. And here's something else I want to point out, because I was thinking through this before I knew we were going to talk about this today. I would not turn my back on this guy either. And I know that a few of you who are watching, without saying I know this for 100% fact that everybody was thinking this, I know at least a few people are like, why didn't you just turn tail and get off that property as fast as possible? I want to ask you, would you turn your back on somebody that's that angry, law enforcement related or not? Would you turn your back on somebody that is that angry and comes out with a firearm at the ready? Because people don't understand, once that firearm clears a holster and is in your hand, you are at the ready. There's no other way to call that other than being at the ready.
And I do have a question for you, TC, because you're the only one on the panel who's been law enforcement. Would there potentially
my capacity
be
was somewhat different. My capacity, there again, I
Sure.
always want to clarify, my capacity was so much different. I was a sworn deputy. I did work corrections, but our use of force continuum was the same as that of people in the capacity of being on the streets. So go ahead.
And you might not know this, but is it potential that there's any policy by the Connecticut State Troopers that you could not respond to something like that with a department issued weapon?
Because
I'll tell you, I am probably going to reach out to Connecticut State Troopers, to their media coordinator, and ask that question. Like, what is the policy?
I think it's a fair question. The biggest problem that we have is that, and here's where my biases are going to come through, and I'm just going to admit this on the front end. One, I don't know all of Connecticut's firearms laws. I don't know which one of their laws are actual infringements on the Second Amendment and which aren't. Which, if there are any laws regarding firearms in Connecticut, they're an infringement on firearms on the Second Amendment. However, that being said, a lot of agencies, especially in states where firearms purchasing and ownership and carrying are heavily regulated, a lot of times every firearm that a law enforcement officer has within some states is owned by the agency that they work for. So, and they are told, like, you are allowed to protect yourself from, threats. And you hear what this guy asserted, what this Fahey asserted to Sean in the middle of this conflict was, "You threatened to kill me." Well, folks, I got news for you. First of all, Sean Reyes is not a violent guy. You can watch hour after hour after, like, literally hours of Sean Reyes' content. You will not find any moment of Sean Reyes ever using violence against someone. However, more so is if Sean Reyes had ever actually made a threat to Fahey online, Sean Reyes would have been charged.
Yeah.
I don't care who it is, but especially a Connecticut state trooper, he would have been charged. So what Fahey did here is actually a cop tactic, and people need to understand this. They are told, if you just assert that someone is a danger to you or
Yeah.
has threatened you in any way, any force that you use in that moment will be deemed justified. Period. So
And I
go
want to
ahead.
highlight Vet Firefighter's comment here. I assume, like normal, he'll beat all charges. Sean Paul Reyes has been arrested many, many times, and they
Never convicted.
almost always drop the charges or he beats them at trial because he does do a very good job of keeping himself on the right side of the law. He knows what he's talking about when he says he knows the law, and he really does try to do a good job with that.
So Krieg asked, "Is it Greg or Krieg?" I want to say it. I want to say it the way Mike Myers says it in the Austin Powers movies.
Gregor Scotland.
Greg, head trousers, no, get in my belly. Can I'm gonna can have his can he I'm gonna say can he have his weapon? But would it then be illegal if he raised while Sean was backing up? I would tell you that legality in this situation, just the fact that he had it out was a threat, period. Pointed at him or pointed at the ground, it was a threat. What he's relying on is what I said just prior to what we were talking about with Sean's record of beating these cases in court or having the charges dropped, is that he asserts Sean has threatened him on online, and then says it numerous times. So he's going to use that in an officer safety capacity. In this moment, he's going to assert that he stopped being just a private citizen and now is in the role of a law enforcement officer who has to protect himself from potential harm.
I mean, if he felt so threatened, why would he go out of his house and pursue Sean down the driveway and continue to push him?
And initiate contact. Because he
Yes.
initiated contacts 3 times.
Yeah. This, I'm going to tell you right now, even as frustrated as I am with the institution of policing in the United States, and this is going to probably blow Skipper and AVA away and anybody else that's still watching, this just ended Mr. Fahey's career.
Yeah, he doesn't deserve the badge.
This is at this point, the Connecticut State Troopers are going to make haste to get rid of him. This ended his career. He was pulled off the streets, for those that don't know, because people that worked around him and with him said he was too volatile and too chaotic to be trusted to work with on the streets. Mm-hmm. He's literally that guy that when he showed up at a call, everybody was like, oh shit.
He was coming in hot every time.
Yeah, always, every time. Which is how he ended up on a desk job. And so this will effectively end his career. Like, this could very well lead to, if his agency doesn't remove him, he could end up facing charges literally for his conduct in this situation.
As a gun owner, okay, just as a gun owner, I just want everyone to know, if you own guns, that's fine. You have a right. However, if there's an incident and you're the only one holding a gun, you do not want to be the angry person in that situation. You would much rather be the calm person in that situation to show that you were in defense of yourself.
If you watch, Skipper knows this, AVA does too. If you watch any of my videos from another channel that I have and from my MBRR channel, where I have any interactions with law enforcement, you will at times hear me elevate my voice, but you will never hear me yell at cops. And some of that's years of training. Some of that is just I handle stress differently. And those of us who have dealt with PTSD or CPTSD or have been in high stress situations, you learn how to compartmentalize, and it allows you to process differently than someone who's never done that. So it has given me a leg up. But I never yell at cops. And a really good example of that would be a situation that we had. Skipper, which one? I know you're laughing. Which one are you thinking about?
No, I pressed the sound of you talk like a fag and your shit's all retarded.
Oh. See, we can't hear it when he does that. So, two really good examples are one where we had a confrontation with law enforcement agency that I worked with on a regular basis for 13 years in Rochester, Minnesota, where they were trying to run us off of a university campus. And another one is, for those of you that know, is Flex Your Freedoms. Bo Bish down in Waterloo, Iowa. We went to the detention center where he was incarcerated for literally filming police for 10 days. He was incarcerated. And we had an interaction with the director of detention services. And everybody else was getting mad and making very, I shouldn't say everyone. There was a segment of people who were getting mad and asking some pretty raunchy questions of him. And I stay calm and I ask him some very direct questions as it relates to the Constitution and the law, even in Iowa. And that's the way you have to be. So whether or not you're going to be an intentional auditor or you're going to be like the AVA has kind of become an accidental guy when it comes to auditing the VA, you have to remain very calm.
Mm-hmm.
You always have to remain calm because you're going to be the one that looks in control and professional. And honestly, what Sean does here is he actually makes Fahey look exactly as Fahey deserves to be seen, as an unhinged psychopath. This dude is an unhinged psychopath. And I will tell you that there is a large amount of people in the law enforcement career field, in the institution of policing, who have comorbidities of multiple cluster B personality disorders, from psychopathy to narcissism to sociopathy. It attracts a certain type of person. It really does. You played another sound that I couldn't hear.
Yep. So what do you guys think happens here?
I know already. So let the chat respond. Chat, tell us what you think happens here.
I'll play this so they can see. But what do you think happens? Do you think they let Sean Paul Reyes go and arrest Sergeant Fahey for spitting on him?
The blue line always does what's right in these moments.
So is there any updates on, because obviously I want to press charges for him spitting in my face that I showed the sergeant here on camera. So what's going to happen with that?
So we went through the assault statute specifically, and there's nothing that specifically states that spitting on somebody is an assault unless it caused you physical pain. The only thing that assault fits is physical pain. And that's under the exception of if you spit on an officer, then that is when bodily fluids become involved.
So you can't spit on an officer, but in Connecticut you can spit on anyone else.
As long as it doesn't cause them pain.
Right.
How backwards is that?
Spitting on an officer is a crime, whether the officer experiences pain or not. But you getting spit on by an officer who's off duty, by the way, who's probably going to put in for overtime for this, by the way. You getting spit on by the officer is not a crime.
That's why this video is so angering.
This is literally, I know there are people like Nancy and I don't always agree. I love Nancy because she pushes back on me. I really do. Nancy doesn't know that, but Nancy pushes back on me when I say things. Now, Nancy, now you know why I say there are rules for thee, but not for me. And law enforcement is a perfect example of this. Law enforcement is rules for thee, but not for me. They have so many protections and so many laws are written specifically to protect them that they, like, literally they get special treatment. Literally.
It's the same thing at the VA.
Now, I'm gonna hit play here, just so.
If he has a reasonable expectation of privacy and you invade on his curtilage,
No.
and you're recording,
You're wrong,
him,
but do it. Then I will gladly go take the ride, arrest us both for a breach
all right,
piece.
well then turn around for me.
I found the most appreciative customers in affiliate marketing hiding in plain sight during divorce.
That's weird, Skipper. Normally we get.
Do what you got to do, man. Do what you got to do.
This is ridiculous.
Very peaceful.
This is absolutely ridiculous.
If you're gonna get arrested, this is how you get
He
arrested.
didn't even do anything. He didn't even do anything. He was just recording. I get
That's why you're
sworn.
getting arrested as well, because you're both reporting on this private property, initiating this, which caused a giant scene.
Because he spit in my face. Are you going to take him to jail?
We're gonna deal with that after we deal with this.
I don't care, man. This is ridiculous.
What would you? Obviously, we're going to bring these into your property. Do you want us to lock up your truck and obviously make sure so nobody steals?
They're both
they
getting
have an
arrested, by the
LED
way,
truck.
folks. Just they're both getting arrested.
This boils my blood.
And then I do want to get a little bit of what the aftermath, if that's okay.
No, absolutely. You know, I was about to say this is your show.
punishment.
but-
If you would like to donate to support the cause, unlawfully arrested and our camera shut off, we were placed in the back of a patrol vehicle and taken to the Groton Police Department, where we were placed in a jail cell to be booked and processed. After some time, a police officer came to my cell and said I was going to have a $10,000 bond and that the cameraman was not going to have any bond. He just had to sign a promise to appear. Some time passed again. He comes back and he says, Mr. Reyes, there's a lot of moving parts here because it involves a Connecticut State Trooper. There's a lot of phone calls going on from people up high on the food chain, people with power. And unfortunately, your bond has been raised to $75,000. And your cameraman, his bond is now going to be $50,000. I told him a $75,000 bond for a breach of the peace. He said, well, that's the other thing. You are being charged with breach of the peace, criminal trespass, and voyeurism. Yes, voyeurism.
Did you see voyeurism in that?
And they're going to push it. They're going to push it all through and take him to trial.
Well, Sean will take this to trial.
I think the DA would be stupid to take that to trial.
So here's what people need to understand, and Skipper, Skipper and I have some variances on things like qualified immunity, and what other people need to understand is that everybody in the public sector, if you are a government employee, if you work for the government at any level, you have qualified immunity. Every single public sector employee has qualified immunity. 100% true. And it needs to go away. Qualified immunity needs to end for everyone. And it has different terminology depending on the kind of job you have. But it all comes down to qualified immunity. For cops, they call it qualified immunity. For prosecutors, they call it prosecutorial immunity. For judges, they call it judicial immunity or supreme immunity. Legislators have legislative immunity. So over and over and over again, from school teachers to janitors in government buildings, they all have it. Which means you, the taxpayer, the wage slave tax cattle, are on the hook when somebody does something in line of duty that is wrong. Period. Now, when law enforcement does this, if they can demonstrate that what they're doing is in keeping with their training, this is key. if they could demonstrate that what they're doing is in keeping with their training and has never been adjudicated in this exact scenario before, qualified immunity automatically stays attached. And that's something else that people need to understand. Qualified immunity is assumed in every single situation. You, as the person who is suing, and qualified immunity does not remove criminal responsibility. People need to understand that as well.
Most times, in most states, qualified immunity is not statute. It is primarily case law.
Yeah, there are very few places where you actually see it statutorily, qualified immunity addressed statutorily. In fact, most states that do have something in statute about qualified immunity, it's removing qualified immunity.
Yeah, puts limitations.
It puts limitations on it. So by court decision, qualified immunity is automatically assumed, and then you as the victim have to demonstrate proof that it was wrong, and then the judges still can decide to leave with qualified immunity, or leave a case with qualified immunity attached. Even and they can acknowledge, yes, what the officer did in this situation was wrong, but it's never been adjudicated before. So I'll give you an example. A guy surrenders. He's down on his hands and knees. He puts his hands. He's not on his hands and knees. That's a different type of surrender. He's down on his knees, feet interlocked behind him, hands up, interlaced on his head. Cop comes up, handcuffs him. Canine unit sees the guy flinch. Canine officer releases the canine. Canine bites the surrendering individual. The surrendering individual receives a massive injury and is wounded to the point that they need plastic surgery to repair the injury. Sues, and the courts say, yes, what the cop did was wrong because the guy was clearly compliant. But qualified immunity is attached because he was only doing what he thought was best in the situation, and a case like this has not come before the courts before. Now, if a case like this ever again comes before the courts, that officer will lose qualified immunity. So fast forward. I'm not making this is. I'm not giving you an exact example. I'm just giving you one that's about as precise as can be. Basically the same situation, except the individual was lying on the ground, proned out, surrendering, flinched, and a different canine officer released his canine, and the canine bit the person, causing pretty much the same amount of damage. Person sues. The person's litigating attorney argues, points at the other case and says, in the last case, the courts decided that this person was protected, but if another case like this came up, the next officer would lose qualified immunity. And the court said, this isn't exactly the same case. This person was proned out instead of on their knees. Therefore, qualified immunity is attached. Officer is protected from personal responsibility because the person was proned out and not on their knees. Folks, qualified immunity is the death of accountability.
Yeah.
It's the death of accountability. And every single person in the public sector, from street cops to detention deputies to judges to county attorneys to teachers, if they want insurance to cover them, they should be required to get bonded like every single person in the private sector is bonded. This would do so much. And until then, you should pray that for the case of account and the sake of accountability, that these guys start losing their cases, and that the agencies have to start paying out, because the agencies rely on insurance to pay them. Go ahead.
One thing that I didn't play that is in the fallout is when Sean Paul Reyes was bonded and released, they immediately slapped a civil protection order on him, which that I could understand to an extent. He can't go back to Sergeant Fahey's house. No problem there. But they also said he can't go back to the Connecticut State Trooper headquarters, a public place.
Right. And
so what do we think is going to happen to Fahey? I think they're going to let him go. Let him get away with it.
The system is working really hard right now, which is why they put the 75,000 and the 50,000 on Sean and his cameraman. The prosecutors are going to do everything they can in their power to take this to court, even though they're already looking at this knowing that Sean is not going to give in. Sean will not plead. He will not plead. Sean will take the chance of taking this to a jury. The reason that this happens, and this applies to the qualified immunity, if the prosecutors get down the road and they're like, we can't win this in trial, they're like, and sometimes that happens. Prosecutors will look at this and go, this was bad. This was bad. Like, it was clear. It's clear. And they have all the video evidence that they need. They had a town cop who admitted that spitting on a cop is illegal, but you getting spit on by a cop is just part of life. So their argument's already there that the cop has more protections. So the reality is that the prosecutor will drag this out as fast or as long as possible. They will want to make this go away in the court of public opinion. They're going to try and offer some sort of plea deal. Sean will not take a plea deal. I've never seen him take a plea deal. He will take this to court. If they drop this before he goes to court and he's adjudicated not guilty, they actually open themselves up to civil litigation sooner.
So he actually, because of his previous arrest with Sergeant Fahey, where Sergeant Fahey again initiated contact, there's a current federal lawsuit on that right now. But Connecticut State Trooper Internal Affairs, and you can go watch those videos, even though again Fahey initiated contact, they did not take any administrative action against him because he claimed that he thought the phone was a weapon. And according to Google, and again, you take it with a grain of salt because it's Google, it says in Connecticut, spitting on someone can be considered assault, specifically a breach of peace or even third-degree assault. Third-degree assault is a misdemeanor. Where did I see that here? A Class A misdemeanor in Connecticut. It involves intentionally causing physical injury to another person, while spitting might not always be considered a physical injury. If it causes injury or if the intent is to cause injury, it could be classified as assault in the third degree.
I think he spit in his face so that he could try to aggravate Sean to escalate things, to give him a reason to pull the trigger.
Totally agree.
Yeah, and there again, this is guys like I've been around people like Fahey. I've worked with people like Fahey. I've probably said things in the heat of the moment that I shouldn't have said because you can only take so much. But Fahey is 100% in the wrong here, and thanks for putting that up, by the way. Especially Vet Firefighter. Thanks for pointing out the states: Colorado, Montana, Nevada, and New Mexico. In like Montana being a state that's removed qualified immunity, you're not talking about a hard left state, folks. Montana is not some radical. I mean, they're not known for being like radically right wing either, but they're also not known for being radical leftists there. Those people don't last long in Montana. So it's because people are starting to understand that qualified immunity has become a tool by which a lot of people escape accountability. So Fahey did what he did because he was hoping, as AVA said, he did what he did as a desire to provoke a response that would cause violence. Where he screwed himself was coming out with his weapon drawn. Quite frankly, coming out of the house the second time was unexcusable. There was absolutely no excuse for him to do that. he provoked that situation, and he did so in hopes of causing a conflict where he could justify using lethal force.
And when the cop arrested him, he said, breach of peace for coming here and recording him.
Yeah.
That's a straight up First Amendment offense.
Yeah. So I would say that the prosecution is going to push this out as far as they possibly can in hopes that Sean will, give up the fight.
Give up.
Sean won't. If you know anything about Sean, he won't. Now, even if Connecticut State Trooper command staff look at this and say, we're going to protect Fahey, which, by the way, there's a very high likelihood they will, because we know that they will build that blue bricked wall up as high as they possibly can if they decide to. With there being a federal civil rights lawsuit already in play, and you won't hear me say this very often, there is a high likelihood that there could be a federal investigation, which might be invited in this situation.
You know what? Yeah, that might. I'm going to send some emails to Connecticut State Troopers, to their media personnel. I'm going to send them some questions.
Careful, you don't want to get spit on.
What's that?
Careful, you don't want to get spit on.
Right. But depending on how they answer those, this might be, and I've called the FBI before about law enforcement agencies not enforcing the 14th Amendment equally. This may rate a call for me depending on how they respond. If they blow this off, that might be my next phone call. Now, to all of you guys, if you want to ask questions, if you want accountability, you do what you need to do.
Darlene Maynard posted something. She goes, my nephews came back from Iraq, and Veterans Hospital gave him an Iraqi. I'm assuming she means a doctor from Iraq. An Iraqi doctor to go talk to for PTSD.
If it's the VA and he's not comfortable with that doctor, he can request a new doctor.
Yeah. I'm sorry that he's having to deal with that. Way too many of our service members are coming back from this last 20 plus years of asinine wars that we didn't need to be fighting in the first place, that are permanently damaged and scarred by what they saw and what they experienced and what they had to do. And I would tell you that he may be in better hands with that Iraqi doctor than he would be with some stuffed shirt from some institute down the road that's got no experience. The Iraqis weren't our enemies. And this Iraqi doctor, if that's what you're saying, Darlene, may actually have a lot of the same experiences as your nephews and might actually be the best glove to fit that hand that you could hope for. Once again, if he's not comfortable, that's understandable.
As someone with a diagnosis of PTSD, and the VA sent me from doctor to doctor to doctor, eventually I did get a good therapist, and having gone through all those other ones helped, because I had to constantly relive my trauma with them, that by the time I got to the current one, I had no problem talking about it. It wasn't causing me the emotions. So the curse can eventually be a blessing. But if he goes into therapy with the thought that I am going to do this and try my hardest to improve myself, he will find that it works well for him.
He says it's hard to tell him what they had to do with him. Yeah. It's not going to be, it will not be any easier talking to anybody else for the first 10 or 15 times. And I'm not downplaying what he's gone through, but, and I'm not going to tell you what kind of advice to give him other than, like I said, to say that Darlene, one, I'm sorry he's got to go through this. You know, we're still at 22 plus a day that take their lives, you know, in PTSD related traumas or acts. But I think he may find, like I said, that he's got a lot more, especially if this guy was in Iraq and fled from there to escape the chaos that was created during the war. He may find an ally, quite frankly. He might actually find a really good ally. And when I was doing therapy on a weekly basis, I was going through a particular type of program, and I asked. I have a really good friend that owns the clinic that I was working through, and I told him what I was going to ask, and he loved it. I would ask, the therapist, have you been in therapy? Don't tell me what you've been diagnosed with. I don't necessarily want to know, but have you been in therapy, and how has it helped you? And so it's it helps to know a little bit about the person, and so that'd be what I would, Darlene, that's what I would encourage him to look at. Yeah, what Vet Firefighter said too, by the way, as a CCW holder, I would never draw my weapon unless I expected to use it. No flexing the I have a gun shit. Yeah, exactly. And the reality is how many times did Fahey tell him, like at least 4 or 5? Yeah, I'm a goddamn Connecticut State Trooper. That's him saying I can do whatever I want.
Yep.
There was it was a couple months ago. There was a video of a road rager gets out of his car and he's yelling at the car behind him, and he's got his weapon drawn, and he's like, "You idiot! I've got a concealed carry," but he's holding the gun. And the people inside the truck are not reacting to him. They're recording him. And when he walks away, the wife turns to the husband and goes, "That guy's an idiot." And she turns down, that guy is holding his concealed carry. Now, had that driver shot the other guy, he probably would have been completely absolved of all charges because he physically had a gun and was coming at me angry. And I had my concealed carry here, even though both guys had a concealed carry. That's why you do not want to be the angry person holding the weapon.
Well, you don't want to be the person who's angry enough to be yelling, "You stupid mother," and then shoot
Right.
them. Chances are, if you're to the point where you are scared enough to pull the trigger, you're probably angry enough to be willing to do it. There's a fine line between fear and anger. Sometimes they walk hand in hand. But
I like the comedian Jim Norton, who says, "I don't have a gun for how many times I say, if only I had a gun right now."
Right. Anybody else have any other thoughts about what we saw here? And this is incredibly important to veterans because, one, not only are veterans being treated this way in a lot of situations, especially by the VA, and we've had a couple of stories come to us over the last 2 weeks since we last did the show, of people who have experienced this kind of behavior and treatment. AVA just brought us a story, and we're not going to mention names right now, but just brought us a story of a guy who was, like charged, brutalized and charged, and then sent a notice basically saying, "Pay this fine or else." No adjudication, no court date, just pay this fine or else, by the VA police.
Now he's scared to go back.
You guys don't know about this one. I have a fan of the show who I talked to him today. Yeah. One. He's considering talking to us. He would want to be anonymous if he does, but he has inside information on the Port Arthur massacre. And for those of you who are unfamiliar, that if that doesn't stand out to you, it is the mass shooting that happened in Australia that caused Australia to take everyone's guns away.
Ah,
Thank you for the membership.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Congratulations to Tim Walters, who got the membership. Tim did text me this morning, and I was going to mention it. He's in the ICU right now. Tim has been battling cancer, and he was feeling sick the other day, and they took him. He's currently in the ICU. So everyone, let's pray for Tim. I will let him know he was gifted a membership.
All right, gentlemen, everybody in chat, I gotta go.
Well, I was going to say I want to do memberships on AVA's channel, but he doesn't have any of that stuff set up because I think we're still waiting on watchtowers.
Yeah, I got a lot.
So we need everybody to go back and watch at least these shows. Watch them back, even if you're not paying attention. We need you to go back and watch, because we need to get his subscriber count up, and we need to get his watch hours up so that we can get channel memberships and monetization happening going on for AVA, especially as we get ready to launch Veteran Nation Unexplained.
Yep.
Which we're all going to talk like this. We're going to sound...
Whoa.
We're going to sound very... I don't know what that is, but we're going to sound like it the whole time.
Deserve.
I'm Batman.
I have a update as well. For those of you that know, I've been covering 2 stories involving state troopers, which are kind of like the Connecticut state troopers, but Minnesota State Patrol troopers. Two stories that I've been covering here. One with Trooper Shane Roper, who on May 18th of last year murdered Olivia Flores in a terribly avoidable high-speed accident, 84 miles an hour in a 30. And he killed an 18-year-old gal just weeks away from her high school graduation. And he's been able to push his trial out now until next year. Just another year that her family's got to deal with this. And then the other situation is another trooper on April 9th of this year. He much the same situation, paralyzed a young man named Blake Mostad, driving at an incredibly high rate of speed. And he's been out on paid administrative leave. And those stories are on my channel. Blake was paralyzed from the neck down. I think it was a C2 or C3 shattered vertebrae. On the 3-month date of his injury, he took a turn for the worse at the rehab center and was placed back in the hospital on ICU because his lungs were filling up. And because of the nature of his injury and the paralysis, his body cannot remove the phlegm and stuff that's building up in his lungs. And so he is improving slowly, but this is his life for the rest of his life. And the reality is that the law enforcement agencies that have been investigating this trooper's crash that paralyzed Blake, not only have they not spoken with the family outside of interviewing his brother as a witness one time, but the Minnesota State Patrol has not reached out to them at all. And the 2 different county attorneys agencies now that have been involved haven't spoke with the family at all. This is over 90 days, over 3 months that this has been going on. And no one has said a word to the family. And Minnesota has codified in state statute a victim's Bill of Rights that says that the family of the victim or the victim themselves or both have a right to know about the progress of the investigation and where they're at. And so after having the case for almost 2.5 months, the original investigating agency and the county attorney's office that was supposed to be deciding on charges waited and then said, oh wait, we have a conflict of interest in prosecute in anything involving this trooper, so we're going to turn this over to another county. And this other county has now had it for basically a month and still hasn't made a decision. Folks, if you go to my channel and watch the stories about Blake and Trooper Ryan Moser, and you watch the stories about Olivia Flores and Trooper Shane Roper, Ryan Moser and Shane Roper, these troopers, these cases would, if this was anybody else, this would not be stretching out the way it is. And that's why this stuff is so important that we talked about today. I do also want to say, because I have a question for Skipper, but I want to say from the last time, I know that I was a little fired up the last episode about some things, and I stand by everything I said the last time. That being said, if I offended you needlessly, let me know so I can address that. If you were just needlessly offended, like if you just offended because you didn't like what I said, I can't do anything about that. Skipper does it all. I don't know if anybody saw the video Skipper put out yesterday.
Thank you for the $2, Georgie.
Yes, Georgie, thank you for that. I don't know if you saw the Skipper video from last night, but I told him he's never allowed to post videos when he's drinking ever again. I was totally not sober when he made that video.
I was completely sober. I have not. It's been a good week since I've had any alcohol. And because I'm going on vacation next week, and I'm going to have a lot of alcohol. So I am preparing.
He's abstaining, so his tolerance level is way down, so he gets drunk faster. That's what
I'm making sure my liver's going into it healthy, and then when I come out of it, it's going to need
it will be pickled. He won't have to worry about a healthy liver because it'll just be pickled liver. I think our Scottish.
I think I'm going to do my instead of doing coffee with the Skipper, I think I'll do on the beach walk and talks.
Please don't be shirtless.
If it rains, should I do it in the rain?
Can you protect your phone? Will your phone handle that?
I got a case on my phone.
All right, but I wanted to ask, because Skipper and I have been talking an awful lot about the Epstein stuff, just between the three of us, mostly in our little group chat. AVA and Skipper and I have been talking about it. As most of you know, it was announced over a long weekend last week. Anytime you want to announce something you want to die, Skipper can attest to this. You always announce it on a long weekend, in the middle of the long weekend.
Right.
Let's be honest, it's a tactic to make it go away, to see if you can slip it by people. But the Bondi and Trump Justice Department announced that there was nothing to the Epstein list. Nothing to files. There was no compromising data, and there were no clients. It was all just Epstein, and it's all gone away. And Skipper and I, via the show, I wasn't on the coffee, but we were talking about it. Skipper, do you still think that somebody's going to get fired? Because all of the announcements from Trump as of this week, especially, like this weekend, is he's standing behind Bondi. He's saying that she's done nothing wrong. And now Bongino's acting all like he didn't say anything stupid after he got into the position he got into. You have to listen to Bongino prior to getting the position he had, and then listen to his appearances after the position.
Yep.
Dan Bongino has lost all credibility. Like if he's screwed himself on this issue, so he cannot be trusted. But anyway,
I will say this: I was not. Look,
I know you did not like the decision. I know that. I know we agree.
Oh, I hate the decision. But I do. To me, it just reeks of. I believe beforehand it was a Mossad operation. I believe Jeffrey Epstein was a Mossad agent.
For sure.
But what I really think is, I think it was a Mossad operation that absolutely the FBI, CIA, NSA knew about and probably contributed to.
Oh, for sure.
And I know a lot of people think because Trump is on, they say that Trump is on the list, that's why he did it. Uh, I, I think it's because of those reasons instead that there's a lot of American personnel would get wrapped up, and it would be very embarrassing to American intelligence as well as Israeli intelligence. So I think that's why they made this decision. MAGA is not backing down. They're like, no, that's bullshit. You need to release this. And
but just keep in mind though that they made a few months ago. They marched out they marched out words of TikTok. They marched out cat turd. They marched out.
I think they were threatened. I think Israel was like, look, if you out this, we are going to out all of your intelligence. And
what would you make of the what would you make of the argument that people are making that if it really had Trump's name on it, Biden would have released the list to destroy Trump? I think you're in the same position that Biden couldn't release it with Trump's name on there because it would also require connecting a lot of other dots that would expose everything. And now Bill O'Reilly, stand-up guy that he is, came out and said, "Well, look, we know for a fact Trump told me that if we release this, 2/3 of the country is going to collapse and it's going to be chaos." And I've said, Mandalorian style, this is the way. Like let them burn. Let Congress burn. I don't care who it destroys. If it causes the country to collapse, this is the way. We might be at that place. So I don't buy the argument that everybody's making that Trump's name isn't on there, otherwise Biden would have used it. I think even the Biden administration was like, "Oh no, we can't. No way." There's too many connections.
Trump's name might be on it. Release it. Fucking release it.
There you go. And I knew that, I like the way you're thinking about it in the sense of it. Maybe it's just how do I want to say it?
That it was an operation.
Maybe. Well, it's definitely an op. I mean, Ghislaine Maxwell. And then, by the way, why is Ghislaine Maxwell still in prison if nothing was there? Like the first thing that should happen is Ghislaine should be released. Absolutely.
Right.
Okay. But the other aspect of this is that there's no doubt that it's an op because Ghislaine Maxwell's dad was called the Mossad super spy. Like there's no way. Not to mention the fact that he's, Trump's son-in-law is Jared Kushner. Jared Kushner has literally shared his bedroom with Bibi Netanyahu, not in a sexual, well, who knows? But Bibi Netanyahu used to stay in Jared Kushner's bedroom when Jared Kushner was a kid because that's how close he was to that family. Miriam Adelson was the largest campaign donor to Trump's campaign. So,
and I'll give you a little bit of inside baseball that people don't know about this show. I've always said this show, Skipper is not the sole owner. There is another organization that owns this. And I will say this. I've had discussions with the owner of that organization. We're very close. We talk not on a daily basis, but close to it. And he knows Dan Bongino. And they've had some back and forth. And Dan Bongino has publicly talked some shit about him. And I've had some of those private conversations. And I can tell you, all these people who look, I trust Trump. I don't trust everyone else in the MAGA sphere. And Dan Bongino is definitely not a guy that I put all my trust into. He was doing things to other people to try to increase the price of Parler because he was a co-owner of Parler.
Yeah.
So if you don't think that Bongino, if you don't think he's a guy that can't be influenced, he absolutely can be. He's not unbiased. I do think with what he's saying about resigning, that to me is very principled. But if he resigns, he needs to immediately come forward and say, "Here's everything I can tell you."
Right, and that's the reality is like he's playing. To me, it looks like grandstanding. He's like, oh well, crap. I said all this really strong stuff about I was going to make sure the truth was going to get out when if I get appointed to be the the assistant FBI director, and then I'm assistant FBI director, and I literally go on Joe Rogan's show with Kash, and Kash Patel did too. Like, well, don't you think that if I knew for a fact that he killed himself or that these people were on the list that I would say something? And like it was basically, no, I don't believe you would. and then they come out and say he didn't kill himself and there's nothing to this. After they made a big show of releasing this to all of these mega influencers, or MAGA, however you want to say it. And I'm over here saying, when are we going to realize? At some point, we just got to realize we've been played. We've been played. We just have been. I voted for the guy, so
Trump makes mistakes, and this is a mistake. I hope I'm not going to stop, and I want him to correct the mistake. That doesn't mean people are like, "Oh, MAGA's fleeing Trump." No, he's still, as I've said before, he's the best one out there. Which, if you hate Trump, you should be like, that's how bad our situation is.
Yeah, like that's literally like if this is literally the best that our country has to offer, we might actually deserve to fall. I mean, we might. I don't say that lightly, but if this is really the best that we have to offer, like, definitely better than Kamala. I mean,
and if we have to tear it all down, we can rebuild it anew.
Like, it wouldn't be the first time that a bunch of Americans got together and said, "Let's start a new country."
Mm-hmm. So if this is the death of the country, then let's put a bullet in the head of it and move on.
I had one other that I wanted to ask you about, just to see where you feel on initial gut reaction. And I know we've been at this now for an hour and 17. And I got a grill tonight, so I won't keep us going. And by the way, everybody, thanks for tuning in for a late show.
Please retweet and thumbs up and share this.
You plan on rubbing any more food in my face today?
Oh, you have no idea. I'm sending so many pictures later.
Dude, I got like 4 videos while I was out of town, and I was like, that's just rude.
I did it to Skipper and Kahanu too.
Rude.
So Tucker Carlson recently came out, and it won't surprise anybody that I like what he said. Carlson's proposing that any American who has served in the Israeli military should be stripped of their citizenship. What's your initial gut reaction to that?
I'm not necessarily opposed. Here's the thing that people don't realize. Even our friends spy on us when it comes to friendly nations. And Israel is probably one of the friendliest nations that spies on us a shit ton. We have found people stealing government secrets to give to Israel.
Oh, that's how Israel got their nukes. Literally, the fissile material that Israel used to build their nukes that they won't admit to having, but everybody knows they have, they stole. They stole the plans and the fissile material to build their nukes. So I don't know who Bruce is calling a crybaby lib.
I was just about to say, boys, give me a second. Let me address this because, first of all, I only know one on here that's an actual crybaby, and it's not me or Mikey.
Kahanu's not on right now, so
it's not Kahanu either.
So, and I don't know who he's calling lib.
Yeah, no.
Like,
nobody here are liberals.
Nobody here. I make Skipper look like a liberal.
I got something I want to show you guys and get your opinion on real quick.
What the
world's
fuck?
scariest girl, Supatra
like your type.
Susaplan from Thailand cries for love, says she is ready to propose to any willing man. What do you think?
Justice for TC.
And if you can see my response right here, I put Chewbacca growl.
I was just about to say, she looks like your type.
Is she inflatable?
Wood. Skipper Wood.
Super
Brucey Bruce, you are literally addressing the panel with your comments.
I would, as long as she shaves her pits.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I mean, you're more than welcome to be in the chat. I don't have a problem with that, but like your comments have to make sense. No, I do content. I don't do memes.
Ooh, Bigfoot's daughter. Yeah, do you think if we do a Bigfoot show, me and Kahana, we could hire her to just walk around in the woods?
You could like sponsor her for a visa. Yeah. So
how is she not making money off that?
But I guarantee you, she's got an only. She probably calls it Harry fans, but
she needs to be cast in the next Star Wars movies as a Wookiee. Like that. That's her problem. She's not marketing that enough.
I still don't understand this dude's comments. Like, why are you quoting these things?
Well, but this is
nobody here is hating Trump. I don't get.
Well, I pretty much hate anybody that holds the position of president, but so
you hate.
I do not. I do not hate.
Like,
he hates children and small dogs.
Yes, absolutely.
He didn't like me at first either. I kind of forced that on him.
I like you now. You're a project.
Rude. I am not a fixer-upper.
I'm flipping you. That's
you shut up.
I'm okay. I don't.
Nobody asked.
I don't. Whatever, Bruce. Bruce, I'll make the same. I'll make the same invite to you that I make to anybody else. I don't know if you're a regular viewer for Skipper or if this is your first time. You just happen to pop in. Anytime you would like to come on and have a conversational debate about these positions, I will gladly do that with you. I will gladly have a debate with you live
podcast on YouTube.
On stream with Skipper as moderator. I will gladly debate you.
Skipper as a moderator. I've seen how that's gone before. He just sits back and laughs.
Well, that's fine.
Somebody has to put a leash on you and reel you in every once in a while.
My conspiracy.
The Skipper is not built for that.
We could bring Chris from Mildevet on. He does a good job. So, the reason I brought the thing up with Tucker is that we had at the right after October 7th, we had at least one member of Congress that showed up to the congressional floor. He showed up in his Israeli military uniform and did business of his office in Israeli military uniform. And to me, that's showing a loyalty to another country outside of the United States. And I believed in that moment, he should have been completely removed from the floor and removed from office. To me, that's
who was
like, I got to look up his name.
Because here's one thing I'll tell you, and I know this for a fact. You cannot get a clearance if you have loyalty to another country. The U.S. Does not give clearances to people loyal to other countries. And I only know that because my roommate for a while in the Marines, he and we were getting our clearances upgraded. And his dad was from the UK. So he had dual citizenship and he had to renounce his British citizenship. And I asked him, doesn't that bother you? And he said, no, it really doesn't matter. In the end, the Queen doesn't deny her subjects. And I was like, what do you mean? And he's like,
Brian Mast is his name.
What's that?
Brian Mast.
Yeah, that should not have a clearance. And I would imagine that whatever role he was in, he probably had a clearance and that should have been denied because, you cannot have loyalty to another country and be given access to U.S. secrets.
He volunteered as a civilian for the Israeli military, which is the way they take their volunteers.
Mm-hmm.
He has been a vocal supporter of Israel. His actions and statements regarding the conflict have drawn both support and criticism. So yeah, he showed up in the days following the attack on October 7th. And by the way, October 7th was a terrible day, folks. Like, I'm not like you do not target, and this applies to anybody. You do not target civilian populations. Period. In war. Period. You do not target civilian populations. To me, there is no justification for that. On either side, I don't care if it's our side or their side. You do not target civilian populations, and you will never hear me say, "Oh, that's war. Too bad. So sad." No, it's not. It's not okay. It's not okay to target civilian populations, and so Hamas was wrong. But everything following what happened with Hamas on October 7th has also been wrong. The massive slaughter of civilians has not been okay. So I was looking at what Tucker said there and thinking about Brian Mast and going, interesting. And I could see why that would be a very, it's a very tempting thought, because I think it really does, measure the loyalty, if you will, of that person. And I think it sits nicely in that camp of Trump announcing that he wants to strip Rosie O'Donnell of her American citizenship because he considers her dangerous to humanity. Was he blustering? I don't know. I don't know. But okay, if you don't like her views and she's back, visiting family or whatever in Ireland, and you want to strip her of her citizenship just because you don't like her views, then I think it's fair of Tucker to posit this idea that if you've ever served in the Israeli military, really in any other military, to some degree, it might be time to say, where are your loyalties? And can you serve another country in their military and still remain loyal to the United States? I don't know. So anyway, it's been a good show. Remember, if you're a veteran, we would love to have your stories of the unexplained. So
I'm looking. We have over 150 people watching, and we need
150.
150.
Over what?
Over 150.
150.
We need more likes, more shares. So if you're watching,
if we have over 150 watching, we should have at least 175 likes, folks. Come on.
Right.
Wait, that many on YouTube or total? I only see 26 on YouTube.
I have to go check my chickens are making some weird sounds. Hold on a second.
We'll go ahead and let's wrap this up.
All right. Go ahead, wrap up, and then I can check out.
Everyone, in the link or in the description, we do have our change.org petition to protect Second Amendment rights for veterans. So please go sign, share, and get that out for everyone. We haven't figured out what day or time we're going to do Veteran Nation Unexplained, but we are preparing for that. Just know that I will be on vacation next week, so my streams will likely be earlier because I'll be in an earlier time zone. So be ready for that. Anything you need to talk or plug, TC, or
no? George? Just check out my channel, and if you're following us here, you should be following me there, and you should be following Georgie too.
If you go see TC, make sure you leave a roar.
Yeah, leave a roar.
Let him know Georgie sent you.
Yes. Then I know who to block.
Roar means I love you in dinosaur.
Then I know who to block.
So
I'm going to go start my grill so I can send tempting pictures to my favorite people.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Thank you for your questions, your comments. Make sure you go over to Long Island Audit and watch the full video of Sean Paul Reyes.
Tell him we sent you.
Yeah, make sure you let him know that you were sent by MBRR Podcast and Veteran Nation.
And we are going to be having Detective Matt Thornton on in the next month. after Skipper comes back from his vacation. And the reason why is because he stands behind vet issues, and he embraces the Constitution in a way that you will not see from a lot of people out there today. So if you have never seen Detective Matt Thornton's shorts, his stuff is amazing. So we're going to be having him on very soon.
He's one of the good guys in law enforcement. So thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining us.
Bruce wants to play a game with you.
We're leaving now.
That's who the Riddler is. Bye.
All right, guys. Thank you, as always, for being worth serving.